Welcome to PG Patashala. I am Dr. G.S. Venumadava, Assistant Professor in Criminology and Forensic Science, Karnataka University, Dharwad. Let's we discuss about crime prevention through education. It's an come under crime prevention. Learning outcome will be knowing the brief introduction to crime prevention, importance of education, crime prevention methods, the importance of role models, community, education, and parental education in crime prevention. Crime prevention education skill development and behavior changes. Introduction is to possible to reduce crime rates by raising the education of potential criminals. If so, would it be cost effective with respect to other crime prevention measures? Despite the enormous policy implications, little is known about the relationship between schooling and criminal behavior. The motivation for these questions is not limited to the obvious policy implications for crime prevention. Estimating the effects of education on criminal activity may shed some light on the magnitude on the social return to education. Economists interested in the benefits of schooling have traditionally focused on private return to education. However, researchers have recently started to investigate whether schooling generates benefits behind the private returns received by individuals. In particular, a number of studies attempt to determine whether schooling of one worker raise the productivity and earnings of other worker around him. Crime is a negative extremity with enormous social cost. If education reduces crime, then schooling will have social benefits that are not taken into account by individuals. In this case, the social return to education may exceed the private return given the large social cost of crime. Even small reductions in crime associated with education may be economically important. There are a number of reasons to believe that education will affect subsequent crime. First, schooling increase the returns to legitimate work, raising opportunity cost of illicit behavior. Additionally, punishment for crime typically entails incarceration. By raising wage rates, schooling makes this lost time more costly. Second, education may directly affect the financial or psychic rewards from crime itself. Finally, schooling may alter preference in indirect ways which may affect decisions to engage in crime. For example, education may increase one's patience or risk aversion. On net, we expect that most of these channels will lead to a negative relationship between education and typical violent and property crimes. Last couple of decades has seen increased crowding in our jails and prisons, since about two-thirds of those released are rearrested within 3 years and about half reconvicted. It's time to reconsider the purpose of incarceration. No longer can we accept the traditional principle of lock them up and throw away the key. Instead, we must consider recent research findings that show many prisoners can be rehabilitated through education and training and eventually contributes constructively to society upon their reentry. While illiteracy and poor academic performance are not direct causes of criminal behavior, young people with insufficient education and or poor literacy skill are disproportionately found within the criminal justice system. The National Center for Education Statistics recently released Literacy Behind Bars. It looks at the relationship between literacy, criminal history, and current offense, and compares the literacy of adults in the prison and household population and across groups of prison inmates. The report findings that both male and female inmates had lower average literacy than adults of the same gender living in households, and that a higher percentage of prison inmates had been diagnosed with a learning disability. Education has been proven to be a great catalyst for a change. Studies find that correctional educational works that it can be particularly positive for juveniles in helping them acquire the skills they need to be responsible, independent member of society. As a cost of effective and continually beneficial approach, education is one of the most successful means we have of preventing and reducing crime. Education always has been and always will be the most effective way to combat adversity. Rather than making deterrent laws to prevent people from making mistakes, we can encourage them to become productive members of society. By providing them with the education and training, education, particularly early childhood, education and development are deteriorating at alarmingly rapid rate as the prevalent, though in society is that safety and protection are the top priority. Education program in general help lot reducing future crime rates, contributing to society as a whole. The relationship between education, criminal activity, theory suggested several ways that educational attainment may affect subsequent criminal decisions. First, schooling increases individual wages rates, thereby increasing the opportunity cost of crime. Second, punishment is likely to be more costly for more educated. Incarceration implies time out of the labor market, etc., which is more costly for high earners. Furthermore, previous studies estimate that the stigma of a criminal conviction is larger for white collar workers than blue collar workers, which implies that the negative effect of a conviction on earnings extend beyond the time spent in prison for more educated workers. Third, schooling may alter individual rates of time performance of risk aversion, that is, schooling may increase the patience exhibited by individuals, as mentioned Baker and Mulligan. The patient and more risk adverse individuals would place more weight on the possibility of future punishment. Fourth, schooling may also affect individual taste for crime by directly affecting the psychic cost of breaking the law. Fifth, it is possible that criminal behavior characterized by strong state dependence, so that the probability of committing crime today depends on the amount of crime committed in the past. By keeping youth off the street and occupied during the day, school attendance may have long lasting effects on criminal participation. The channel suggests that an increase in an individual's schooling attainment should cause a decrease in his subsequent probability of engaging in crime. But it is also possible that schooling raises the direct marginal returns to crime. For example, certain white collar crimes are likely to require higher level of education. Education may also lower the probability of detection and punishment or reduce sentence lengths handed out by judges. Mustards finds little evidence of the later or compulsory schooling laws. Valid instruments address this question and examining whether increase in compulsory schooling ages are associated with increases in state resources devoted to fighting crime. If increase in mandatory schooling correspond with the increases in the number of policemen or police expenditures, fourth estimates might be too large. However, we do not expect this to be a serious problem. First, in connect to most studies using state policy changes as an instrument, simultaneous changes in compulsory schooling laws and incarcerated increase in enforcement policies are not necessarily problematic for the instrument in this study, since we examine incarceration among individuals many years after schooling laws are changed and drop and decisions are made. Recall to assign compulsory attendance based on the year an individual is age 14, 20 and older. Second, we directly test for whether increases in compulsory attendance laws are associated with increases in the amount of police. The state quality education reduce crimes. Kids in this growing generation are the future lawyers, athletes, entertainers, teachers, actors, police, firefighters, business. Today's youth are not better helped with financial well-being, education, guidance, values, morals, leadership, role models and other positive support and outlets. The future of our society could be doomed. Today's youth are burdened by substance abuse, gangs, unemployment, poverty, peer pressure, unsafe environment, and broken homes, just to name a few. If someone does not come up with a way to resolve the growing issue of violence and crime surrounding our youth, a productive future will not exist. More time, money, resource, patience, and tender loving care need to be invested into these growing issues. Studies have been done to determine whether education really does make children less prone to commit crime as they get older, the early childhood. Education and development is integral in ensuring the mental health and development of children and helping prevent crime at later ages. Early childhood education also plays an integral role in the mental health development of children. During the first 3 years of a child's life, they develop their cognitive and behavioral traits, many of which are the threshold for their future personality traits. In particular, children learn skills regarding how to tackle problems and confront it. And in these periods of a child's life, exposure to a safe learning environment is integral, helping individual to confront the difficulties if a child is having struggles, cooperating, and is acting out if they are participating in early childhood education programs. They would have access to teachers and instructors that would help the child channel their frustrations and negative energy into productive actions that would simultaneously teach them how to control their anger and discomfort. If a child grows up in an abusive and violent environment and does not have access to any education support, their chances of becoming juvenile delinquents and potential criminals are much higher. Better educational programs should be offered in schools. Even now, the new programs that are offered are usually only offered to students that meet a certain criteria, such as a high GPA or good athletic skill. However, just one club or activity offered in after school programs may be the key to deter the child's life that's off track towards the right direction. Just maybe they can seek change of given the option to join. I don't think that programs should have stipulations that leave certain kids unable to be involved because they don't fit the criteria. If kids could have something productive to do that draws their attention, it could possibly save a child from turning to the streets and committing crimes. In conclusion, more time and money need to be spent to help better youth service. Millions of dollars are spent each year to house and monitor juveniles that commit crimes. If half of that money was spent on recreation centers, after school programs, mentors, education, and other juvenile based programs, I don't think that most kids will ever enter the juvenile system. Children need other outlets and influence besides that they see when they step outside their house, in which can be a terrible sight for some. While some are born with a silver spoon, most are not, and while others might benefit from becoming a product of their environment, on the other hand, most will not. I hear so many topics discussed on the news and in the newspapers, but the topic concerning today's youth seems to be best kept secret. When will someone realize that we are the future and without a better us, there is no chance for a better future? Addressing crime problems, putting more focus on education and early childhood education, development skills and measures, children will hopefully be less interested and prone to committing crimes as they get older. Focus more on education helps to provide permanent solution to the crime oriented problem, as the mentality of the individual and such crimes has completely shifted due to their education and upbringing. The importance of role models. Another argument is that cause for crime stems from a lack of moral compass, which is often passed on from parents into children at their early ages. From this ideology, it is equally an integral for parents to play a vibrant and active role in their children's lives. But about parents who have to work for a living and cannot dedicate as much time to taking care of their children, this is where preschool and daycare programs come into play. Having well equipped programs where teachers can teach children the importance of morality. Education always has been effective way to commit adversity. It battles ignorance and helps create a more open-minded and respectful society, encourage people to focus more on educating themselves, community, children, education, understanding psychology, and becoming productive and contributing members of society rather than delinquents. Crime prevention through awareness and education, one of the best ways to help prevent it from occurring is through awareness and education. By being aware of the weak points of current crimes, prevention plan one can work to eliminate them when recognized to strength of plan are able to make sure them remain implemented and followed by all employees. There are many factors behind crime including poverty and economic impoverishment, social disorder, unemployment, weakening of social and family values, serious drug problem, and even imbalance between material and moral development. Strategy: crime prevention through parent education, community-based parent education and support system. Enhance parents, families whose children are at risk can help those youth avoid future problems with delinquency. Addressing the problem, assist parents by providing education and training in communication skills, and counseling services help those families transfer skills to their children, possibly preventing delinquency and family violence. Local programs that adapt this strategy typically deliver a comprehensive array of service, including parent education classes in child development, skill building, and education enhancement programs for children, communication and family management, training and counseling. The basic education is sometimes based on neighborhood centers. In economically deprived communities with crime problems related to family violence and delinquency, the community organizations that deliver the services are often funded by a combination of local government, community, foundations, and corporate resources. Potential obstacles: many parents may resist the idea of others telling them how to raise their children. Community based newspapers, newsletters, public events, or schools can disseminate information to educate parents about how service could be helpful to them. Another challenge is encouraging parents to take hands-on role in designing effective programs. Professionals in this community have a history of offering their service on a pro bono base, and a number of area psychologists and social workers volunteered their time to offer parenting services which are very much help in crime prevention. Fear of social stigma attached to the child and parents, getting the psychological treatment and educate themselves bring changes actually which are helpful. To tackle crime effectively, communities need to be consulted on the problems they face and how to tackle them, involving the public presents challenges as well as opportunities, but can lead to greater trust in the criminal justice system. An increasing number of states have been adopting evidence-based, consultative, and participatory approaches to preventing and reducing crimes that involve all sectors of society, including non-governmental organizations, academia, and the private sector key participants in crime prevention. The police in particular have a key role to play in working with the public and communities to prevent and control crime. Through community oriented policing and similar approaches that encourage consultative and collaborative arrangements between police and citizens. Furthermore, courts play an important role through restorative justice. Prosecutors contribute to the prevention of crime by considering alternatives to the prosecution, and legal aid providers, pro bono lawyers, and volunteers all assist with access to justice for those without the means to pay for a defense lawyer. Is prisoner education the key to reducing crime rates? We all know that education is a good thing. For one thing is it helps you get a better job and earn more money, but we might not have thought just how education can also have a positive effect on inmates. Well, criminal justice scholars and researchers have some insight for us. For years have been adamant in this validity of their reports that the education of United States prison inmates significantly reduce the chance of their return to prison once they are released. Prisoners who actively participates in correctional education program is 43% less likely to become a repeat offender than a prisoner who did not get involved in the programs. Given that just over half of such a education would be significant, cutting the number of repeat criminal offenders nearly in half would have a considerable positive impact on crime rates and prison occupancy in the states. That all sounds good, but may be not so easy. Unfortunately, education is one of the hardest service to provide people who are behind bars, and the study shows that the involvement rates in prisoners in educational programs is declining each year. What is the problem? Well, in prisons there are as many inmates waiting to get into the educational literacy programs as there are prisoners enrolled and participating in them. The amount of post-secondary prison programs for people behind bars decreased by more than 90%, making admittance to education behind the very basic education program even more infrequent. So money is the problem, but not the only problem. While we now have proof that correctional education programs benefit society to decrease crime rates, correction education program is unknown. Well, we might have at least partial solution for both issues. Thank you for watching PG Pathashala in Criminology.